Hey everyone, my name is Extraverted Feeling, also known as FE, and I am the dominant function of the ENFJ and the ESFJ, the auxiliary function of the ISFJ and the INFJ, the tertiary function of the ENTP and the ESTP, and the inferior function of the INTP and the ISTP. In this video, I'm just going to share a bit more about myself, introduce myself to y'all, for those who don't know me, dispel some myths and I guess overall things that might lead to misunderstanding between us so that we can deeper our understanding of each other by you more deeply understanding me. Okay, let's get into it. So yeah, as I said, my name is Extraverted Feeling, and I'm usually associated with terms such as harmony, but then there's also terms such as maybe the savior complex, and this is a lot of times because I am a function that is very people oriented. I would actually probably say that I'm the most people-oriented function of all of the 8. My Siamese twin introverted thinking is probably one of the least people-centric, and I guess that's why we work so well together as a team. But even though I'm very people-oriented, it's not necessarily to say that I'm always as enthusiastic or as energetic as people might think of me as being depicted as. And in fact, I think this is probably a good time to hop into the facets of this function so that maybe you'll be able to better understand the type of person that I am. So some of the facets of me as a function are interpersonal labeling, which is essentially the labels that we'll put on different types of relationships, such as sister, brother, boyfriend, girlfriend, friend with benefits, whatever it might be. Then there's decisions based on shared values. I have a focus and skill in identifying and causing a desired emotional effect on a group or individual. I'm very big on rapport establishing and also building rapport. I tend to absorb other people's emotions a lot. I look for a lot of commonality in conversation and interactions with people. I like to keep a pulse on interpersonal needs. I enjoy building substance in interpersonal dynamics, or another term for that could be fostering intimacy. I have a desire but also feel a responsibility to create happy and pleasant experiences for others. I'm skilled in tact and grasping social culture. I like to hide negative emotions so as not to burden others or to affect the room. I enjoy taking the perspective of the many, so kind of taking the perspective of the group to see what's best for the group in my decision making. I'm really focused on interpersonal outcomes. I also tend to have a pulse on external emotional experiences and impacts. And I have a tendency, probably more than any of the other 7 functions, to chameleon based on social expectations. So, especially with that last one, a lot of people can tend to see me as fake. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. Sometimes I really can show up as fake. And there's reason for that. Sometimes I'm not as skilled as my cousin Introverted Feeling in being able to really know who the real me is, because I feel like the real me, as in me being authentic, is me actually meeting other people where they are a lot of times. So I have a lot of faces. And I think even Introverted Feeling would say that, we as people, we have so many nuances to us. It's just that I sometimes have a tendency, maybe more than other functions, to show the different sides of myself depending on who I'm interacting with. So maybe if I'm interacting with one group of people, or if I'm interacting with one friend, then I will show still authentic sides of myself, but maybe the sides of myself that will be most relatable with that friend, to continue to keep that harmony flowing. But then I might interact differently with this other friend because this is other sides of me that maybe the other friend would not really appreciate as much, or it would just not really create the best concoction for the cocktail of intimacy that I'm trying to create within these dynamics. Sometimes also I can just be straight up fake, and that's when, you'll see a lot of those petty characters who, right when they say something very nice, like, oh, I really love your shoes. And then as soon as she walks away, then, she might the petty character might call that person that they just complimented a name, or they'll talk trash about a person, but then be all nice in the person's face.
Why don't I know you? I'm new. I just moved here from Africa. What? I used to be homeschooled.
Wait, what?
My mom taught me at home.
No, I know what homeschool is. I'm not retarded. God, I love your bracelet. Where did you get it?
Oh, my mom made it for me. It's adorable.
Oh my God, I love your skirt. Where did you get it?
It was my mom's in the 80s.
Vintage. So adorable.
Thanks.
That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen. Oh my God, I love your bracelet. Where did you get it?
There's no way around that one. That really is just fake. A lot of times I can be also seen as the nice function, and that is not always 100% true. I think that in having an inherent understanding of the interpersonal bond between people, and understanding how to strengthen the weak points between relationships and how to break them, then I can tend to know okay, it makes me uncomfortable a lot of times when there's tension in the room, or when there's conflict of some sort. And so I might tend to avoid the conflict. And sometimes that avoidance can come in the way of actually being oh, tension? I don't sense no tension. I definitely sense the tension. Or it can be an avoidance as in, okay, if I go down this road, then that's going to lead to tension. So rather, I can just go down this road and I'll still have the result that I'm looking for, but without the conflict. And therefore, I've avoided conflict. That might seem unnecessary. But again, there are times where there is necessary conflict, and I might show up in an individual who really does not want to deal with it at all. This tends to be most in the auxiliary position, so for the INFJs and the ISFJs, because let's be honest, conflict is work. Dealing with people is work. And if you're an introvert, then you don't really want to be actually working through problems with somebody and trying to figure out, especially if they're going to probably raise their voice or something along those lines. So that's also just an explanation rather than an excuse of how I can sometimes be conflict avoidant, and why sometimes I might show up as extra harmonious. But also with that understanding of how people, I guess, kind of tick in their relationships, then a lot of times I can be manipulative. And manipulation in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. It's more of just a tool. But I guess it has a negative connotation, because I'm really tapped into knowing the exact buttons to push at the exact order to get a desired emotional reaction from an individual or a group of people. A lot of extroverted feeling users can use that to their advantage. It could be kind of the same as a child using fake tears to be able to get what they want. That's manipulation. Then also at the same time, there are ways in which a lot of extroverted feelers might just know that, okay, if I say this thing, if I do this thing, it might cause this other thing emotionally, and then it could actually bring up the morale in the room. It could actually help the relationship between these people. I know that these two people are fighting, but I also know that the truth behind why they're fighting is because of this misunderstanding. And so if I happen to invite this person to this dinner party, and I also happen to invite this other person to this dinner party, and then they don't know about it, but then when they show up and they might originally be upset, but then they see that the thing that they were actually fighting about is standing right in front of them, and it was just a misunderstanding, they're able to hash that out. And yeah, I was manipulative, but at the end of the day, I resolved conflict. But not everybody might agree with those results, and that's very understandable. I'm also inherently really interested in, again, the interpersonal labels between people. So, when we talk about a platonic dynamic versus a romantic dynamic versus a erotic dynamic, and then maybe there's like a mixture of the two, and this is where a lot of times my Siamese twin, introverted thinking, might help. He really likes words, and so he'll really like to clean slice after I present him the information, like, oh, this is the type of relationship that these people have. Then introverted thinking might be like, okay, so this is actually more of a buddy, and it's like, oh, wow, interesting. Well, what's the difference between a buddy and a friend with benefits? It's like, well, a friend with benefits is actually, having a deeper bond and a friendship here. So I would not really put the term friend with benefits on these two people because they just kind of do the deed and then they might not really do much more than that. Whereas like friend with benefits, they might like hang out more and they might actually be friends on top of doing the deed. So you can't really classify them as congruent. They're just similar. And as long as the things are not necessarily congruent, then they should have different terms. And this is probably more stuff that introverted thinking will talk to you guys about. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the relational matters, then I'm the one who usually likes to focus a lot on that. And then introverted thinking might take the reins to put the different labels on these, since introverted thinking is not really paying attention to the relationships, but it does like the information that it might get from the relationships. And so I like to present introverted thinking with a lot of the information that I do receive from the relationships that I involve myself in. And that helps a lot with a lot of FJs who are able to coach by also giving like really good truths, which is another thing. Being skilled in tact. I think that as an FJ, really being able to know how to speak to people and how to present the truth, but with love, is a good thing. However, I also know that we tend to suppress the truth a lot, whether it be in ourselves by trying to ignore something that we internally know is true, which is because our introverted thinking sibling is trying to tell us and we're ignoring it so that we can keep in a happy bliss, or we're trying to keep other people in a happy bliss. And it's, the infamous phrase, I was just trying to protect you, which a lot of times is not what the other person asked for and goes back into manipulation territory. I realize that a lot of this can be very scary for a lot of people to hear. And I guess sometimes, people can be even more afraid of me than they are of my cousin, extroverted thinking, because at least with extroverted thinking, it's very direct and you kind of get what you're looking at. Whereas like with me, it's hard to tell when I am, I guess, being genuine and when I am pretending to be genuine, but then really at the end of the day, I'm trying to deceive you into being killed and manipulated so I can take over your country.
Oh, Anna. If only there was someone out there who loved you.
What?
Yeah. But at the end of the day, every individual is different. Extroverted feeling is a function. It's neither good or bad. It's really just a way of, interacting with people. It's a way of being able to understand interpersonal dynamics. And whether the person is using that for good or for evil is up to the individual. All in all, something that you guys should just understand and know is that I am a function that's really just most concerned with interpersonal dynamics. I'm most concerned with the relationships between people. I am most concerned with being able to meet people's needs, even if it might go against what they want. I'm most concerned with understanding the strong points and the weak points in relationships. And yeah, I'm just really concerned with being able to be a glue for society and bringing people together so that we can have a more socially lubricated environment, because I think that if we have better rapport with each other, then we won't have to feel weird when we're talking to the person in the break room, or if we want to give constructive criticism to somebody because we already have a good rapport with them, or if somebody's trying to give constructive criticism to us. Simply having good rapport opens up room for so much more. And that's what makes a very healthy relationship. That's what allows us to be able to communicate better. But if you do not have good rapport with somebody, then you're going to be way more likely to misread their intent. And if you don't really believe that somebody has your best interest at heart, then maybe you're going to project bad things onto them and their motivations and their intentions that are not really things that we should be projecting onto them. So I think that that's something that I really do try to keep a pulse on. So anyway, if you use me as a function, or if you don't use me as a function but you'd want to know more about somebody else who does use me as a function, I would really hit up Denzel Mensah at denzelmensah.com. There you can book sessions with him and you'll be able to understand a lot more about the function, because not only does he use the function himself as a dominant, but also he's watched it in so many other people and he's come to understand the different ways and how it shows up. And I would say that he really is good with being able to break down the nuances of all of that. So yeah, if you feel like it, then you should definitely book a session with him to find out if you use me as a function at all, or to learn more about the function in general. Or I can see you at the Q&A. And if you have any more questions for me, then I'll be happy to talk to you about myself a little bit more, to just help continue to bring more understanding. And also, if you liked this video, then be sure to give it a like. It really does help out Denzel's channel. And if you have any more questions or comments or your own experiences with extroverted feeling, be sure to leave that in the comments section as well. I think that's about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. And don't forget, you matter. Done. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot, so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com, where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.